Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
What? I know. Sorry, guys.
I'm so happy.
I had a problem. Okay, here we go.
Good morning, Spiritual Life Center. Welcome to the SLC Sunday Experience. We are so glad that you're here, that you've kept this divine appointment to be here. Your soul is in the right place.
At the right time, just where you are meant to be, whether you're live streaming or here with us in person. Everyone is welcome here.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be.
In the right place.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Good morning to those live streaming. You're in the right place at the right time.
Your soul is welcome. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome.
Your soul is welcome.
Oh, my soul. Everybody is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome.
I'm getting the message.
I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Come on, girls. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. Let me hear you. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. You go, girl. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. You know everybody's welcome here.
All righty, welcome to the Spiritual Life Center Experience. There's a buzz going on. All right.
And this is Reverend James Trapp, and I am Reverend Deborah Phillips. And we greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this ministry, Spiritual Life Center. If you are with us for the very first time today, we especially want to welcome you, because we know that whether you are here for the first time or live streaming for the first time, you are not here by accident. Every one of us is here by
Divine appointment.
And we're just very excited to have you with us this morning, and we're even more excited when you turn off your cell phones.
We have that clearing now so we can connect with this presence. So let's commune with this power that is beyond words. It is known by so many different names, but it is the foundation of everything that we see and exist in the world. Everything comes out of this presence. And this presence contains all that is good and perfect, the peace that passes all understanding, the health and the wholeness that we see, the harmony that exists within ourselves and between ourselves. It is His true nature and being. And since we are made in an image and likeness, then all of these qualities that are good and perfect are also within us. And so we choose to make them the activity of our awareness. So the thoughts we have, the words we speak, the actions that we take. And as we begin to radiate from the depth of our being, these qualities, we can say without a doubt that when you see me, you see the presence that sent me, because this presence and I and all of us are one. We're grateful to be the vessels and vehicles of this presence, the instrumentalities of this all good. And as we bring forth this everywhere we go, we uplift our entire world. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Well, as we always do, we remind ourselves of the basic principles of unity. In the event that someone asks, well, what does unity stand for? What are our overriding principles? We can say the following. God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God. We must take action.
And one of the next actions you can take, of course, is the Wow Wednesday. And this week is our first Wednesday of the month, which means it's the drumming circle, Afro-Caribbean drumming circle with Dominic Garcia. And we do have some drums here, but bring your own if you have one. And then if you are not that into drumming and you just want to have a nice conversation, I will hold a spiritual exploration discussion group over in the chapel. We are moving to soup, so soup is at 6, and the programs both start at 7.
Soup for everyone. All right.
Lots of soup for you.
Yes. Reverend Donna Apodoni will be here on Saturday, October the 5th at 1 p.m. for the blessing of the animals. And animal blessings are often associated with St. Francis of Assisi. But this ceremony actually comes out of many traditions. It is really an interfaith event for your beloved pets, so we invite you to be part of that experience this coming Saturday.
And so we have Sally Skyon. She is one of the Board of Trustees, and she has some community information to share with us.
Okay, I have lots of things to say, so I'll try to stick to my notes here, although I normally don't pay any attention. But anyway, I want to let you know that, Spiritual Life Center gives money back to the community and to Unity Central and to other Unity organizations. And at this point, we've surpassed $1.5 million that we have sewed back. And you are clapping for yourselves because it is funds, of course, that came from you. So you individually have helped to contribute to that number, which is pretty fantastic. And I've been involved since the beginning, but I didn't do this all alone, okay? If anybody here has ever served on the tithing committee or the community giving committee, would you stand? Would you stand for us? Thank you. Thank you so much. Because what the community giving committee has always done is we just don't think up these ideas in our head while we're dreaming or in the morning when we wake up. We investigate every organization that we've ever given to. There's over 300. I've got the entire list if you want to look at it. So we try to be very prudent with your money, which comes through us and we send back out. So that's what we've always done. So it's working wonderful. What's the matter with it? And I've always loved it. Obviously, it still stokes me to be involved in this process of us seeding money back into the community to those in need. What's wrong with the process? Well, we've always accepted suggestions from the congregation. So if somebody actually tracked us down and gave us a suggestion, we'd look at the organization. But now we decided, well, that's not enough. We want to involve you more in this process of who we decide to give to. So there's this bright green form in your bulletin, and it's going to be there every week until the 20th of October. And so we're asking you to think about, do you know of a community organization that does wonderful work? Somebody talked to me after the first service today about one that's up in Coloma. Sounds like this beautiful, small organization that's just doing loving work. The people on the committee don't always know about everything that's going on, but you do. You're the network in this community that might have a suggestion or a knowledge to make a suggestion to us, and we want you to make that suggestion to us in writing, and we will look into it. We will investigate it. And then I personally will get back to you and let you know if we choose it for next year and what influenced that choice. So if you want to be more involved in this process of giving back to our community, please fill out one of these forms. We'd love to have you do it. The other thing I want to tell you is that we're having a congregational meeting next week after the second service. And the main focus of that meeting is going to be talking about our community giving and whether we're going to continue. The board, again, wants input from the congregation as to what we're going to budget for the community giving and for our giving to the Unity organization of which we belong to. We want your input, and that's the time to come and have time to discuss it. So please also plan on that if you have any interest at all in where your money is going back out into the community. So it's next week after the second service. And then all of these decisions are sent to the board. I don't have authority to spend your money. I'm sorry, you're probably part of that 1.5 million would have gone into the Sally Sion travel fund. But anyway, we don't do it that way. Okay, the board has to approve it. So we want to have a longer discussion next week after the second service where the board is going to take in your suggestions about our proposed budget, because we're in a process now where we're not having to talk about our deficit and the fact that we're not going to be able to pay the electric bill. We're in a position where we are meeting our budget, and we want to, again, propose a budget for next year, which is going to be a reasonable, rational budget, which we think we can make. So we want your help and discussion in that also. So please, turn in a form if you're interested. Attend the meeting next week if you're interested. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sally. Well, Faith in Action is right upon us. And of course, our community book study for Faith in Action starts next Sunday. And today's the last day to sign up for a group or to make changes or to change your group, I believe. So this is the last day to change your mind. You can purchase the book at the Hub. And remember that the facilitator training sessions are today at 12:45 as well as Tuesday at 6:30. You just need to attend one of them if you're one of the facilitators of our Faith in Action group.
And I have just been informed that I think we've had a computer glitch. Okay, glitch. So if anybody signed up for the Thursday morning group with Karen Fujikawa, would you please check in at the table over there, because none of it got recorded. Thank you. So the gala is also upon us, and we have some people who want to give us some insight into that.
You're upstaging me. Hi, I'm JG.
We never know what's going to
And who are you?
Yeah. I'm Pat Harvey.
We're both co-chairs of this year's gala. How many of you attended last year's gala? Can I see a show of hands? And how many of you have already got your tickets? Because, for those of you that haven't, we've only got 12 more days left.
I don't get my ticket. I didn't get my ticket. Is it too late to get a ticket? Can I get a ticket? Pat?
Mike,
Is it
calm
too
down.
late?
It's okay. It's okay.
Breathe.
Breathe.
Practice.
Okay.
Practice what we're talking.
Yes, they're available in the courtyard today at the Hub and also at slcworld.org.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's-
I shouldn't have interrupted you. I just am really excited
well,
about the gala. And
that's okay. Let me explain a little bit about the gala. Okay, this year, of course, we kick off the gala with a wonderful reception. You get your pictures taken, and then we have a wonderful gourmet dinner. And then
The dinner, oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot about the dinner. Let's see, last year I had the beef tenderloin, so good. And my friend had the chicken, delicious, and the vegetarian, it was so, and creamy mashed potatoes, and I am so sorry I interrupted again, Pat. Please forgive me.
That's okay. So, and in addition to that, we're also going to have a lively auction, where, you'll be able to...
did you
bid
see
on
what I
different.
said? Oh. Forgive me. I just get so excited. Oh my goodness. Okay, so last year I went for the ring and didn't get it. Okay, so this year I'm prepared. And this year I'm going to get the ring. That's right. If you like it, put a ring on it, baby.
That's great, you know. But seriously, folks, actually, this is Cheryl Gosh, and she is our volunteer leader coordinator. This year, she's in charge of our kitchen staff, so she really does know about what the menu is going to be like. Let's give a round of applause for Cheryl here. Folks, this gala is our chance to really celebrate who we are, you know, and we're going to do that with great music and videos, but most of all, we're really celebrating SLC's heritage to interfaith. And this year, what we're doing is something really exciting. We're introducing first time, you know, we're going to do it every year afterwards, but it's called Light the World Honoree Award. And that award is going to two people that you really know, Dave and Rachel Lyman. Can we hear from them?
Perfect.
Okay. They're receiving this award on behalf of all those that have contributed their time, talent, and treasure in making SLC support its interfaith mission. So, you know, that's pretty important.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, and speaking of support, you know, we also always need volunteers. Pat, do you need any more volunteers?
Always.
Yeah.
Yes, please. See me in the courtyard. I'll be out by the gala table. And if we can't put you to work there, we have some other life events coming up in October, and we'll make sure everybody gets to be of service.
Well, speaking of the courtyard, isn't there going to be like a pre-raffle or
yes,
something?
yes.
Why don't you tell them about that?
Okay. For the first time, we're doing pre-gala ticket sales for a raffle, and you can buy one for $2 or three for $5, and those are also available at the courtyard at either the gala table or the hub.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So can I get more than...
Oh, yeah. Buy as many as you want.
Okay, well, we'll see
Multiples
you in the
of three.
courtyard. Okay,
All
yeah.
right. See you there.
Thank you. Is that the right one? Okay.
Right ones, yes.
Okay, what else we got going on? Oh, ambassadors, board of trustees, and prayer chaplains that are present this morning. We just invite you to please stand. And the ambassadors are wearing the rainbow ribbons, and they're the ones who will guide you to where you need to go and answer questions that you may have about the community. And they're just bringing their wonderful hospitality consciousness to our Spiritual Life Center home. Our board of trustees are wearing purple ribbons on their name badges. And of course, the board does a number of things. In addition to just bringing their spiritual consciousness to our community, they help set the guidance and the strategic direction of our community along with myself. So we thank them for their skills and the time that they put in, which is quite a bit for our community. And finally, our prayer chaplains do the very important work of holding prayer consciousness for our entire community. But if you want to have individual prayer, they're also available to pray with you. If you're going through any kind of challenge, they'll pray with you through it. Or if you're just having some joyful things you just want to reinforce and leverage up even higher, they're there to be with you as well. And they're here available in the courtyard right after our service. And we appreciate their consciousness that they bring to Spiritual Life Center.
And if you're here for the very first time, in a moment we're going to ask you to raise your hand. But first, we just want you to know that there are many, many ways to be connected here at SLC. And one way is to talk to the people Reverend James has just talked about. There's also a card that we will give you that you can fill out, illegibly we hope, and you can put it in the offering basket or take it outside to the welcome table, which is right around the corner as you go out the door, and they have a very special gift for you.
So if anyone's here for the very first time, we just invite you to raise your hand. We want to give you your purple ribbon. And thank you for your presence this morning. Thank you for the consciousness that you bring. And we just invite you to wear it over your side of your body, that your heart is, to recognize the connection that you have with our community. And we can give you that special Spiritual Life Center welcome. So we thank you for your presence, your divine love, and invite you to be here as often as you're guided to do so. And with that, I invite you to just turn to a friend or a neighbor or a first timer and say, "You are marvelous. Glad you were here."
stay standing and join us in singing our group song.
God is my source. God is my power. Yeah, yeah, yeah. God gives me He gives me everything I need. Yeah.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything. God gives me everything. Oh, God gives me everything I need. Everything I need. Please be seated.
All right. So I invite you now to join me in speaking these words together, these qualities that we have determined are some of our shadow side and our magnificent side. And we want to recognize, acknowledge them, and all the things that maybe keep us from living holy with nothing and no one against us. If we acknowledge them, of course, we have so much more opportunity to move them out, up and out. So let's speak these together. Please have compassion for us when we are being not enough, distrusting, grieving, blaming, powerless, and fearful, because this is who we have come here to be, inspired, in integrity, joy-filled, compassionate, unstoppable, generous, and transformational. And now let's bring all of those beautiful qualities together into our hearts and into our voice as we speak our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet.
And now, in preparation for meditation, I invite you to take a nice deep breath and settle into your chair. And listen to that still small voice that is always calling you. Hear me in your heart. I am calling you. Listen to your heart. I am here, calling out your name, whispering your name. Hear me in your heart. Please join us in singing. Hear me in your heart. I am calling you. Listen to your heart. I am here. Hear me in your heart. I am calling you.
As the chant fades and we move into this meditation, take a very deep breath and slowly exhale. Take another breath and exhale naturally. Simply watch your body breathe. As your mind begins to calm, allow your body to relax. Drop your shoulders. Relax your eyelids. And move your attention to your feet. And feel that solid floor beneath your feet. And then in the next breath, extend your attention down through the floor and to the ground, to Mother Earth below the building. Feel her energy and notice how her energy naturally just flows right up into your body. It flows up your legs, through your torso, through your neck, out the top of your head. Watch and feel Mother Earth energy flow up and out, up and out, up and out. It is a constant motion of energy moving in and through you. And so you can turn your attention to the top of your head, to your crown, and imagining an opening through which light flows into your head, coming down through your neck, through your torso, down your legs, and out your feet into Mother Earth. The light flows down and out, down and out, down and out. Now take an imaginary step back and watch as the two energies spiral around each other in a dance of light. See how the spiral of energies expands so that it fills the whole width of your body. And feel the spiral of light as it flows through you. Heaven and earth, the original source of all, combine to make you who you are. The spiral is always in motion. It is always in you. Yet you affect it simply by the way you breathe, thinking a thought, or speaking a few words. Your light expands and contracts in response to your conscious and unconscious actions. As the intertwined earth and heaven stream continue to run through your body, you notice that small tendrils from each stream move off to create a little eddy, a smaller spiral in your heart center. Heaven and earth spin and dance in the center of you, and your heart opens wide to receive heaven's love and earth's wisdom. And you take time to commune with your true source in the silence. The energies are always flowing through you. They are with you always as long as you live. So as you take a breath or two and to return to your body, know that though your awareness of this may fade, the energies remain. And as you take another breath coming back, receive this blessing. Oh, my beloved, you are a dynamic being of light. You consciously and unconsciously shape the energies flowing through you. These energies are the true source of all there is. The more consciously you shape them, the more you will receive love and wisdom in your life, and the more you will radiate love and wisdom into the world. This is the way that you re-source from the one source. Remember this always.
Always and in all ways, love divine pouring over you. All you need is flowing through. Expect the best, accept the rest, opening to receive. Blessings on the truth of your knowing, blessings on the grace in your growing, blessings on your life, your love, your calm and peaceful mind. Blessings on the lessons now revealing, blessings on your health and
think we were calling them Sunday Slice today. Yesterday they were Saturday Slice, because we had a program that myself and Dr. Daniel did a presentation before a medical society, about 100 some odd physicians, and we talked a little bit about the art of medicine and the mindfulness of thoughts. It was a very interesting experience. It was very good. But as we hear that song, that meditative, prayerful song, I'd like to just go deeper into that and start out with some prayerful words. So I invite you, if you so desire, to close your eyes. Be very comfortable, or just lower your gaze and feel and take in these words as you take in a holy breath. And feel the opening that may have occurred as a result of hearing that song. Or maybe an opening that occurred from the time that you left your car this morning. Remain in that space for just a moment and listen very deeply with your inner ear. And notice there's an impulse of good that wants to shine through and as you. And you hear in a feeling, if not in words, that there is more to you. More to you than anything that has happened to you, more than any experience that you have had. There is something about you that is divine. There's something about you that is magnificent and beautiful. There is something about you that is here to reflect and reveal the magnificence of this entire cosmos. You're here to express it in a way that's never been expressed before. So you've entered this place today to not merely solve any dilemmas or challenges that you may be moving through. You're not here merely to solve or heal aspects of your life. What you've done, you've entered this transformational vortex, as Spiritual Life Center is, to expand and heighten your awareness of who and what you are. And in that expansion, you discover the dilemmas, the problems that you have beset you at this moment begin to dissolve. Because when you resolve to evolve, your problems dissolve. And so it is. I thought about some of those words many years ago, the very first time that I came into Unity. I'm sure there were issues in my life that led to a crisis, where my life was spiraling downward very rapidly. And I had gotten to a point where I was spiritually, emotionally, physically at the lowest point I'd ever experienced. A point in which you want to know if you can go another day of life. And I had a friend of mine who invited me to come to a community. And as I look back upon that experience and the seeming crisis that I was going through, I came to the realization that in life, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. There's benefits in those crises. In the Chinese language, crisis means opportunity. It means danger, but it also means opportunity. And so when a crisis emerges in this universe, it's really telling us in so many words, there's a great opportunity there. And I may say this rather quickly to bypass our subjective mind that sometimes gets caught up in the changeable outside of us. But the moment you move into a crisis, the surface mind wants to complain. But we don't want to complain. Instead, we want to open up ourselves and ask empowering questions. What good is here that I presently cannot see? What possibility and potential may be occurring here that I potentially cannot see in this particular moment? If, in fact, we begin to do that, we will be open and receptive to begin to see all around us as nothing but opportunity during the moment of crisis in our life. And we'll see the crisis as an opportunity, and we'll ask the question, what good is here that I presently am not aware of? I often say that complaining is really a declaration that we can't see the possibility. We're saying in so many words, I can't see the presence of God. We can't really see what's going on from the big picture. Now, this seems very normal to complain. I mean, I'm sure we all get caught up in it from time to time. I remember one time I was getting ready to go to give a talk. I think it was, the positive, the thinking and things like that. And it was one of those days that it was extremely hot. And the thing that we do is complain about the weather as if that's going to change something. And I remember I got on the elevator, and there was a stranger on the elevator, and I was complaining about how hot it was and how humid it was and how horrible it was. And he said to me, it's all in your mind, And I'm thinking to myself, I hope he doesn't know who I am. I hope he isn't coming to this talk I'm about to give about how positive thinking the mind can be. As a matter of fact, there's probably some folks that have complaining buddies. You know exactly who to call when it's time to complain. You got your complaining buddies, and you just walk into this space, and you complain so much to each other, you don't even have to use any language anymore. You can just glance at one another, roll your eyes, you know exactly what they're about to complain about. Oh, she's about to complain about number 42, whatever that is. There's just a field there, and we want to build up another kind of field, however. We want to be aware that the complaint, sometimes it may be normal, but it's not natural. But it's normal from the selfish mind to complain. When things are not going according to our plan, there's a crisis maybe in a relationship. There's a crisis in our finances. There's a crisis maybe with a job that we're involved in. Maybe there's a crisis with our health and our wholeness at any given moment. There's a crisis there, and there's a tendency to say, I don't want this to happen. But there's an opportunity here. There's a possibility here. There's a potential here that's trying to birth itself. And the universe is trying to express itself through us. It's a message. You may remember this statement, or heard this statement, that my world was shaken, and I turned to God, only to discover it was God that was doing the shaking, trying to wake us up. I follow who is now a very well-known actor, but before that he was a football player at the University of Miami down in Florida, and you may have heard of The Rock. He was a wrestler at one time, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And so for those who know wrestling, he used to have this saying, can you smell what The Rock is cooking? That was his thing. But when he was coming out of college, his desire was to be a professional football player. He had all the skills, and he had the pedigree, and he got injured. And he tried to come back, and I believe he went to the Canadian Football League, and he never was able to get into the NFL, and his injury kept holding him back. And eventually he was living on the couch of his sister. He was going through a crisis. His dream somehow had been blown up. He wasn't going to be able to be successful for what he had worked for so long in his life. And then someone came along and said to him, well, why don't you try, you have a lot of charisma and, the look and your gift of gab. Why don't you go into wrestling, Because it's more like acting more than anything else. And he decided to do that. And not only did he become really successful at that, but eventually he began into movies, and he's got TV shows. And now today, from that crisis, all of his fellow football players now are taking selfies with him because he's the man right now. But I think he discovered that there's an evolutionary impulse that needed to be expressed through him. We're already complete in our life, as I like to say, but we're not always finished. When I say that we're complete, that means that, we can actually say that I have everything that I need. It's already there. And we can affirm that, yes, I'm complete, but I'm not finished. I'm complete, but I'm not finished. We're complete because there's nothing missing in us. There's nothing wrong with us, but we're not always finished. There's always greater possibilities to be expressed, but we can't see it if we somehow are in a complaining consciousness. I had a colleague, a Unity minister named Will Bowen, and a while back he wrote a book called A Complaint-Free World. And the whole idea is that to get into a complaint-free zone in your life so you can see those possibilities that are there. Because if we're in that awareness of complaining, we're just presenting static on the mind, and we can't see those possibilities. And he had an exercise that required that every day for 21 days that you were not supposed to complain about anything. And what you would do, you put a wristband on your wrist, maybe your left wrist, and any time that you complain, you had to take the wristband off, put it on your other wrist, and start the days all over again. Now, let me tell you, that ain't easy. Talking about getting through 21 days, sometimes you can't get through 21 minutes, without complaining. But if you work at it far long enough, you begin to get another mindset. You begin to see the possibilities in areas where you think you need to complain about. But he had this warning. Be very careful when you get down to the 20th day. Everything in your body will try to make you complain so you don't make that end moment of the 21 days. It'll just want to come up and you want to say, oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Hold on. Hold on. If you can stay in that state of consciousness, you realize that when you're about to complain, you just cover your mouth. Don't say anything. Some individuals, if they can't complain, they would just be like Quakers in a meeting where you just can't say anything because that's all they do is complain. So when you can't complain, what do they have to talk about? But we begin to be quiet because when we begin to do that, we don't begin to affect anyone else with that virus of complaint. And you begin to get yourself so inoculated that even when people come to you with complaints, you're ready. You see them coming, you do a cross or something, or you hold up a Bible, or, maybe you got a book of the Upanishads, just kind of wave them in front of them. Keep that energy away from me. So you develop yourself into a complaint-free zone, particularly if you're in a crisis, because it allows us to focus our faith energy in a direction that leads to a solution rather than reinforcing the challenges. The statement from the master teacher that I often say that really sums up these teachings, in which he says, it is done unto you as you believe. It can make all the difference in the world. Regardless of the circumstances that we're going through, we can begin to shift our attention to where we want to be and the results that we want to have. At the event yesterday, I shared a story about a study that took place in 1957 about a gentleman by the name of Mr. West. And he had an ailment, lymphosarcoma, which is a form of cancer. And he had tumors all over his body as a result of that. He had a milky substance that built up in his lungs that had to be drained every single day. And he was on the verge of just giving up hope completely. And he had heard about this so-called wonder drug, cremibiosin. So I don't know if it's even real. And he wanted to get into this study where they were practicing this on a number of patients. But in order to be eligible for the study, you had to meet protocol, and protocol required that you be able to live for at least 3 months. And his doctor was thinking, man, you're not going to live 3 days. But he begged his doctor, he badgered his doctor until he was able to get into the study. And so he took the cremibiosin on a Friday, and then on Monday, the doctor came to make his rounds, and he didn't know whether or not he was even going to be there. And lo and behold, Mr. Wright was up walking around. His tumors had went to half their size. And 10 days later, they were completely gone. But then something happened. There was a study that came out that said that this drug was absolutely of no value whatsoever. And this came back to the patient, and he got the tumors again. And so the doctor decided, well, I'm going to be a little sneaky. I'm going to tell him something. I'm going to tell him that, well, you got a tainted batch. And what I'm going to give you now is the pure stuff. And so he gave them what was considered the pure stuff, but all it was sugared water. And of course, the tumors went away again because of his belief. And then later on, the AMA messed the whole thing up and said that we came up with a definitive study that it doesn't work at all. And unfortunately, he went back to, Mr. Wright passed away, But the whole idea is that his thought was redirected to the possibilities of what could happen within him. And when you do that, the key, I think, is not to complain about where we are. Because if we do, we won't see the emerging possibilities. We won't redirect our mind to see what can be done. We will not be engaged in the transformation that is possible. And transformation means to go beyond our previous formation of our life, the previous formation of our thoughts. We think about the sweet metaphor of the little chick in the egg. The little chick in the egg is kicking back and it's doing, it's having a good time. It's trying to figure out the great existential question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's back there philosophizing. But then it begins to pollute its environment. It starts growing. It starts getting constricted in its environment, and it's not familiar anymore. It needs more room, or so it thinks. And if we were to listen to that little chick's prayer, it would be something like, please, God, this place that I'm living in now is terrible. Give me a bigger egg. I need a bigger shell. But unfortunately, God does not listen to those kind of prayers. There's an impulse within that little chick. It starts to get its neck. It begins to peck. It starts to strengthen its body temple, so to speak. It pecks and it breaks out, to a whole new world. And it says, oh my God, it's beyond anything I ever imagined. It's no longer constricting itself to that little egg anymore. But we won't get there if we complain. So first of all, we're not complaining. We're understanding we're moving into a space in which eyes have not seen, maybe ears have not heard, nor has entered into the heart of man or woman that which the presence of God has in store for us. In that moment of transformation, your mind may want to say, I wish things were not the way they were, or we want them to be different. I wish I had a bigger egg. And we may have an exact concept of the way we think things should be, the bigger egg, or we may wish certain things to go away. Or we may say, I wish I hadn't done those things 3 years ago, or I wish I didn't have that bad karma, or done those things causing my life right now. Forgetting that our attitude determines our character, and our character determines our karma. And karma isn't fixed. It's something that is flexible based upon our attitude in any moment. We can always interrupt what seems to be karma. We don't need to inherit what came from our past. We determine that moment by moment because we're always free in the spirit to break free if we can look at those possibilities. So the complaining thing begins to dissolve. But of course, for us to see those possibilities, we have to break through a few other things like the awareness of our fear and our worry. The Will Smith, the actor, and he was in a pretty much forgotten movie called After Earth. And his character in that movie had these words that he said. He said, fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts about the future. He didn't say danger is real, but fear is a choice. And worry, I don't know where I got this from, but I always remembered it. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but it says worry is like paying interest on money you haven't borrowed. But we do them anyway. Whenever we're in a crisis, it comes up big time. We become aware of the fear and the worry, and we embrace its meaning. We become aware that there's fear and worry without allowing it to take us over. Because generally what's happening with people is that they're rehearsing emotionally the very thing they don't want to happen over and over again. And then it begins to become incorporated into the body. And we begin to limit our creativity. We begin to prematurely age. We create conditions for maybe even disease to come because all the inner preparation of the worst case scenario has been rehearsed over and over again, and they experience it even if they're never going to happen. We want to transport or transform that fear into excitement, into enthusiasm. As Greg talked about last week, enthusiasm means of God, of God. You know, my good friend Jim Lee, Reverend Jim Lee, who I met him when I first came to Unity to take our interviews. And he was the very first person that I met. And while I met them, I told him that, my luggage didn't come, and I didn't have any clothes to wear for the interview, and he let me borrow his clothes, so we've been tight ever since, But he used to say something like that: when something comes up that's not good, just say, "Oh, goody. Oh, goody." You're like, goody, something good's about to happen in my life. When we're going through the crisis, goody, something possible is here that I can't see. Oh, goody, there's something I'm going to become that I can't see yet. You might even say, I don't know what the future holds, but I know what holds the future. And I know it's the presence and the power and the love of God, because God is good all the time. It holds the future. Because our tomorrows is nothing more than God's good that's here today. But then you want to add this piece. As you prepare your life and prepare yourself, you prepare your body, you want to prepare it for the glad surprise. Trying to make that happen in your life. Dr. Howard Thurman, who is the, mentor of Dr. Martin Luther King, talked about the glad surprise. And we asked, how can we make the glad surprise part of our life? Is there something practical that we can do? Well, we can prepare ourselves for the glad surprise by writing notes to ourselves and then sending those notes and letters to ourselves. And so when you open up the letter and read it, you say something like this: James E. Trapp, this letter is certified that in this moment, all your needs are met. And then, wow, you say, good God Almighty, that's great. You put your name there and you write it down to yourself, and when the letter comes, you just act surprised. You get your body activated for the surprise that's coming to you. You want to know that the healing's been praying for. It says in that letter, you got it. You start to send this stuff even to other people anonymously. You send anonymous letters about how God is working in their life, you see, and you have it happen in your body. I can remember there's a since passed on social activist, but he used to be a comedian early in his life. His name was Dick Gregory. Yes. He started out as a comedian. I remember when I was, in elementary school or junior high school, I went to go see him, and I thought he was such a phenomenal speaker and presenter. I always remembered that. I think he inspired me to be like him. But he said, he wrote one time that he wrote a letter to himself, and it had within it a contract that he created for himself. And the contract said, "Dear Mr. Gregory, we're hiring you for this event, and for this one night only, we're going to pay you $25,000. And he mailed it to himself, and when he got it, he went to the mailbox, and he got so excited, he said, "Oh my God!" And the next gig he got was $25,000. We want to acclimate ourselves for the surprise. And remember, it's beyond what we can see. We want to do it anyway. However, when we're in a crisis, there's a focus that we have that we normally don't have. And we want to say everything's okay. This is what we really want to do. We want to remind ourselves that we have the skills that we haven't tried yet. We have all of that. So when the crisis comes, we say, oh, what am I going to do? And the source says, I got you covered. Because sometimes when we have a challenge that we're going through, I always like to say a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. It's trying to push us to another level. So when the crisis comes, we zip up the complaining because there's a possibility that is around us, right around the corner. We may not be able to see it because it's outside our present paradigm. But if God is omnipresent, and God is on the field, there's infinite possibilities always awaiting us. It is here, it is now, it is always, as they were singing earlier. I remember I shared this story about the source being our resource. And as Deborah was saying, we want to tap into that resource, that source, and resource it in our life. And I thought about the fact that this source is always around us, waiting to support us, no matter what we're going through or growing through. And I brought up the story of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. And in this particular scene, Luke is in his spaceship contraption, and he's fighting the Death Force, and they're shooting all kinds of missiles at him. And he has in his particular spaceship, he has a computer that's supposed to guide him on how to fight back. But then he heard a voice seemingly coming out of nowhere, and it says, "Use the Force, Luke." And Luke pushed the computer back, and he followed his instinct. He tapped into the source. He tapped into the force. And of course, he successfully guided himself out of that without anything outside of him other than the presence and the power and the love of God that they call the force. The force is always with us. The force is always supporting us. The force always has the answer even before we know what the question is. And as we tap into that force, we are going to the only resource that we need, and we realize that source is our resource that we can depend upon each and every day of our life. No matter what we're going through, no matter what we're growing through, it is there, and it always has the right and perfect answer. So remember, the source is your resource. Tap into it and see your life unfold in ways you never imagined. Peace and blessings to you. So next week, we're starting Faith in Action is upon us once again. And we're going to talk about the tools for the journey. Somebody asked me, well, this is the most important question I have to ask you about faith in action. What is the color for next week? Well, it's red. Did you just go through the rainbow for the faith in action? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. You know that? You're good. Paula made it easy for us. So with that, I invite you to prepare your giving, your tithe, your offering. And if you've given already, electronically or by mail, just know that you're in the flow of a principle that says you can never outgive the presence of God. And whatever you give out, it comes back to you in ways you never imagined, not only to support this community for those who are on their way for transformational experiences, but also it begins to send a portion of that to those community organizations that Sally was talking about earlier that we support. So with that awareness, I invite you to join in and say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
All right, I kick my shoes off. You know what that means.
God
God is all there is. That pretty much says it all. We bless the tithes and offerings, knowing they're going to bless the givers, the receivers, and all levels of their being. As we go forth, expanding the all good, tapping into the source, knowing that it is indeed our ultimate resource. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And with that, let's join together and sing our peace song.